Hey guys, tonight we walk quietly through royal gardens lit only by the soft blue light of a fading moon. The stone paths gleam underfoot, and the scent of jasmine lingers in the air like a memory you've never lived. In the distance, the palace sleeps, golden towers silhouetted against the horizon, servants dreaming of duty. A prince lying awake with a weight in his chest that all his riches can't soothe. You probably won't survive this journey, not the version of you that clings to comfort, certainty, and the illusion of control. That part might not make it past the gates, but that's all right, it's time. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You stand in the shadows with him, Siddhartha Gautama, the pampered prince of the Shakya clan, draped in soft robes. Raised in endless luxury, he has never seen sickness, never known death, never walked among those with nothing. His father built him this life like a golden cage, designed to keep out all pain, all questions. But tonight, he walks away. You watch him pause at the edge of the garden, hand resting on the flank of his horse. The stable boy, his only companion, looks down nervously. The road ahead is not safe. It's full of cold, hunger, truth. And yet, Siddhartha doesn't look back. His bare feet step off marble and onto earth. The first lesson begins with this step, letting go. Not a dramatic rejection, not a bitter escape, just a quiet, unwavering act of surrender. He leaves behind his wife, his newborn son, his name, his titles, not out of cruelty, out of clarity. He's seen something, or rather, he's begun to sense the thinness of the world he lives in, the glossed, over pain behind silken curtains. And he knows, if he wants to understand why we suffer, he has to walk directly into it. You follow him, not as a disciple, not yet, just as a witness, a shadow watching another shadow become real. The road is dirt. The night is cold. The sounds of the palace fade. Behind you, like the closing notes of a lullaby, you no longer believe. You don't talk, you walk. And every step is a small death, a death of certainty, a death of comfort, a death of mine. And in their place space, this is the first real taste of practice, not chanting, not bowing, not robes. Just the choice to leave behind what is no longer serving you. Siddhartha walks not with purpose, but with presence. He doesn't know where he'll sleep tonight, doesn't know who he'll be tomorrow, but he knows he can no longer pretend. You feel it too, that low thrum in your chest, the subtle ache of awakening, like stretching after years of stillness. Eventually, he stops beside a river. The moonlight dances on the water. And for the first time, you hear it, the sound of silence, not absence, but fullness. A silence that holds everything. The insects, the wind, your breath. Siddhartha sits. He doesn't speak. He doesn't pray. He just watches the river. And you, standing beside him, begin to see what he sees. That the world never needed fixing, it only needed seeing. That the first freedom is the willingness to let go, even when you don't know what comes next. Especially then, you sit too. The palace is gone. The path ahead is dark, but your hands are empty now, and for the first time, they're ready to receive. The river keeps flowing long after Siddhartha rises. Its current doesn't pause for princes or prophets. The morning mist clings low as he begins walking again, barefoot, quiet. You follow. There's no destination yet, only direction, forward. The path cuts through villages still asleep, past fields where farmers will soon rise. Siddhartha doesn't look for food, doesn't beg. He is walking with a different hunger now, not of the body, but of the heart. Then it happens. The world opens. The four sights, they don't come all at once, but each one lands like a stone in your chest. You see what he sees. You feel what he feels. First, an old man bent low, skin folded like cloth, teeth missing, walking with trembling steps along a dusty road. His bones rattle beneath paper, thin skin. His eyes are dull, and every step is a whisper of finality. You blink. Siddhartha stops. He has never seen age. Not like this. Not unavoidable, not distant, not something kept behind walls. You feel it too, the sudden shiver. The realization that time isn't something that happens, it wears. Slowly, relentlessly. How can this be? Siddhartha whispers. The attendant says, that is age. It comes to all. But you know what Siddhartha is really asking? Will it come for me? And now the second sight. A man sprawled beneath a tree, coughing blood into a cloth. His skin burns with fever, and his cries claw through the air. His family stands back, afraid to touch him. Afraid to catch it, he is alone in his suffering. Siddhartha stares. So do you. What is this? Sickness, says the attendant. No one escapes it. You feel your gut tighten. You remember your own illnesses, the helplessness, the betrayals of your own body. You feel for the first time the inescapable vulnerability of being human. And now the third sight, a procession, silent, heavy. A shrouded body on a wooden stretcher, carried by four men. Incense trails in the air behind them. Mourning wails rise from the family. A child clutches a handful of flowers, not yet understanding what's happened. Death, it isn't a story now. It's not a symbol. It's real, solid, final. Siddhartha doesn't speak. His breath catches. You feel your own breath catch too. This is the third truth. No one escapes the end. Not kings, not saints, not seekers. But then comes the fourth sight, unexpected. A man in simple robes, barefoot like you, but with a different presence. His eyes are calm. His steps are light. He carries no burden, not in his hands, not in his face. A mendicant. Siddhartha watches him pass and says, almost to himself, he has seen all this, and yet he walks in peace. You understand. This is not the end of the story. It's the beginning. The first three sights tore the veil from Siddhartha's eyes. The fourth gave him a path. You walk on in silence. The day passes. You cross fields, trees, rivers. You begin to feel the weight of everything you didn't realize you were carrying. Expectations, fears, half-formed dreams you've never questioned. But the road offers no room for illusion. It strips you clean. By nightfall, Siddhartha sits beneath a fig tree in a clearing. You sit beside him, not as a follower, not as a friend, but as a mirror. The moon rises again. What is left after seeing all that? You wonder. And the answer comes not in words, but in the stillness of Siddhartha's breath. What is left is a question. A longing to understand suffering, not from books, not from priests, but from its source. To walk through it, not around it. You feel it now, not just in your mind, but in your bones. Suffering is not something to avoid. It is something to witness. It is the crack in the illusion, the first glimpse of something deeper. And you, like him, are beginning to see. You rise early, before the stars have faded. Siddhartha is already walking. No words pass between you. The The stillness of the morning speaks enough. A cool hush wraps around the trees, and the dew along the footpath soaks through your feet. It doesn't matter. There is no room left for comfort. Not after what you've seen. Ahead lies the forest, thick, shadowed, alive with unseen movement. It's not the kind of place you choose to go. It's the kind of place you must go when the questions in your heart grow louder than the noise of the world. Siddhartha walks into the woods without hesitation, and so do you. The days blur, time softens. Food becomes roots, berries, what little the land gives freely. Siddhartha sits under trees for hours, eyes closed, skin growing pale, his limbs thin, his ribs begin to show. He studies breath, painless. He joins ascetics, 5 of them, hollow-eyed, wrapped in cloth and bones. They believe suffering is purification, that the more the body is punished, the closer one comes to truth. Siddhartha follows them for a time. You do too. You fast. You sit still until your legs scream. You lie on cold stone. You drink nothing but dew. And the world begins to fade, not into peace, but into numbness. Your senses dull. Even your thoughts begin to slow. You become a shadow of yourself. Hollow, echoing, but not free. Siddhartha's body withers to the point of collapse. One day, he nearly drowns while bathing. You pull him from the water. His lips tremble with exhaustion, not insight. He lies on the bank, and you watch the wind stir the leaves above him. Something shifts in his eyes. A spark, not of revelation but of clarity. This isn't it, he says. And it's true. You know it. This path is lined not with wisdom, but with pride. Pride in how much pain can be endured, how empty the stomach can become, how far from humanity one can drift. The ascetics frown at Siddhartha's change. They call it weakness, but you see the strength in it. He rises, slowly, and walks to the river again. There, a girl from the nearby village waits with a bowl of rice and milk. She doesn't know who he is. She only knows he looks like someone who has forgotten how to live. She offers the bowl. You expect him to refuse. Instead, he takes it, he eats. The food enters his body like sunlight into a cave. And suddenly you realize, this is not indulgence. This is wisdom. The lesson here isn't denial, it's balance, the middle way. Neither grasping nor rejecting, neither drowning in pleasure nor being crushed by pain, just walking between. Siddhartha thanks the girl with a soft smile. It's the first time you've seen him smile since the palace. Later, sitting by the water, he speaks, not to teach, but to reflect. There is a string on a lute. He says, that makes the perfect sound. If it is too tight, it will snap. If it is too loose, it will not sing. Only when it is tuned just right does it become music. You hear it in your own heart. The tightness, the slackness, the struggle to find that in between. This is the third lesson: extremes lead nowhere. In chasing nothingness, you lose yourself. In chasing pleasure, you forget who you are. But in balance, you begin to see clearly. The 5 ascetics leave, disappointed, angry. But you don't follow them. You stay. You feel something taking root now, not in ideas, but in your posture, in your breath. Siddhartha closes his eyes again, this time not to escape, but to be. And you realize that to see clearly, you don't need to disappear. You just need to arrive. You can't say how long you've been by the river. Only that time no longer tugs at you the way it once did. The sun rises and sets. The trees sway. Siddhartha sits more than he speaks, and when he does speak, it's no longer to instruct. It's simply to share what's already in the silence. One evening, the two of you sit by the water as twilight thickens. The air is cool, the sky painted in soft lavender and fire. Siddhartha breaks the silence. "I will sit until I see," he says. You follow his gaze upstream. There, across a small clearing, stands a great tree with heart-shaped leaves that flutter even without wind. Its trunk is wide, roots like fingers curled into the earth. It waits. You recognize the stillness around it, not just the quiet of the forest, but something deeper, an invitation, an edge. That night, he walks to the Bodhi tree. You follow at a respectful distance. He doesn't look back. He doesn't hesitate. He sits beneath the tree as if he belongs there, because he does. And somehow, he won't rise until something changes. This is the fourth lesson. Stay. No more fleeing. No more fixing. No more chasing answers or resisting questions. Siddhartha crosses his legs. His hands rest gently in his lap, right palm over left, thumbs lightly touching. His eyes close. His spine straightens, and the earth watches. You remain a few paces behind, sitting at the edge of the clearing. Not to imitate, not to guard, just to witness. The night deepens. At first, your thoughts rise like birds startled from the grass. Memories, regrets, plans. You try to push them away. They only get louder. But you remember the rice bowl, the middle way, the string on the lute. So you stop resisting. You simply watch. The thoughts come and go. You remain. The insects sing. The tree breathes. Siddhartha does not move. You begin to feel the shift, not in him, but in the space around him. It thickens, not with tension, but with presence. Like the air itself is listening. Hours pass. You drift in and out of something deeper than sleep. Not dreaming, not waking. Then you hear him exhale. Not a sigh. A release. And you realize sitting is not passive. Sitting is courage. It is the willingness to feel everything without turning away. He faces the inner storm without flinching. Fear, desire, doubt. They rise like waves, crash through the shore of his awareness, and fall. He does not chase them. He does not drown. He lets them rise. He lets them fall. You want to ask what he sees. You want to reach out to help. But this is not your moment. This is his fire to walk through. And your lesson is this: don't move. When discomfort calls, don't scramble. When boredom creeps in, don't run. When fear whispers this will never end, stay, because beneath all that something else waits. Something you cannot reach by effort, only by stillness. The leaves of the Bodhi tree barely stir, but they seem to shimmer in the dark, catching moonlight like fragments of some ancient language. And Siddhartha stays all night. You stay too, not out of duty, but because something in you is learning without words. That freedom begins not in movement, but in stillness. And the moment you finally stop running, that's when the truth can find you. Dawn arrives without fanfare. There's no trumpet in the sky, no divine hand parting the clouds. Just a gradual softening of darkness, a hush in the breeze, and the first hint of warmth brushing your skin. You blink the night from your eyes. Siddhartha hasn't moved. He still sits beneath the Bodhi tree, legs crossed, spine like an arrow, face calm. But something is unmistakably different. The air around him feels spacious, like it's been cleared of something heavy, as though a silence you didn't know you were holding has finally been released. He opens his eyes, and everything changes. Not because light pours from him, not because the world erupts in glory, but because in that gaze, clear, unclouded, you see something terrifying and beautiful he has seen, not glimpsed. not guessed. Sin the truth. You wait for him to speak, for words to tumble out like treasure, like commandments, like answers to the great ache of being alive. But he says nothing, not because he is withholding, because what he now carries can't be spoken, not yet. And you realize, as you look at him, that awakening isn't an event, it's a shift, a falling away of everything that was never real: fear, desire, ego, illusions so persistent they dress themselves as your very self. He looks down. His hand touches the earth, palm flat, fingers open, grounded. You don't know why, but it moves you. Later, you'll learn the meaning. When doubt rose in him during the deepest part of the night, when Ra, the embodiment of illusion, hurled everything at him: temptation, fear, pride, despair, Siddhartha didn't fight back. He didn't argue. He didn't chant. He simply reached down and touched the earth, as witness, as home, as truth. That's the lesson. When doubt knocks, don't defend your worth. Don't prove yourself. Touch the earth. Remember, you're already part of it. There is nothing to achieve, only to remember. Ra fled that night, not because he was defeated, but because there was nothing left to grasp. And when dawn arrived, Siddhartha was no longer Siddhartha. He was Buddha, the awakened one, not chosen, not crowned. Just one who stopped clinging. You sit quietly beside him as birds begin to stir in the trees. The light spills across the clearing, not as revelation but as confirmation. Everything is as it is. Nothing needs to change for it to be whole. Even your uncertainty, even your scars, even your longing. All part of the truth. You watch the Buddha stand. He stretches slowly, as one might after a long, deep sleep, not of the body, but of illusion. He looks toward the distant horizon, and you understand, he's not done. The journey didn't end here, beneath this tree. It began, and if you follow now, it won't be as a curious shadow or a silent witness. It will be as someone walking your own path of awakening, not by transcending life, but by returning to it fully awake. The sun climbs gently as the awakened one begins to walk again, not away from the Bodhi tree, but into the world. He walks not to escape, but to share. His feet press into the same soil, his shadow falls on the same ground, but he carries no burden now. And as you follow, you begin to feel the shift in your own steps. There's a stillness in the movement, a silence beneath each breath. You pass trees heavy with mangoes, fields where farmers bend low, unaware that a new truth walks quietly nearby. The Buddha isn't seeking recognition. He doesn't shine with gold or speak in riddles. He moves like water. You don't speak. Not yet. You're still digesting the night before, and the silence is part of the teaching now. But the world is not silent for long. Ra returns, not with fire and lightning this time. No monstrous illusions. No seductive temptresses. Just one question: who do you think you are? He appears as a voice, a feeling, a doubt that slides into your mind when you're least expecting it. The Buddha keeps walking, but you feel it. Ra's temptations no longer come dressed in shadows. They come in your thoughts. Maybe this peace isn't real. Maybe you were just calm for a moment. Maybe you'll lose it. You watch the Buddha pause beneath a neem tree. He sits, not to battle Memra, but to witness him. That's when you understand. This is the next lesson. Temptation isn't always loud. Often, it's subtle. A whisper that says you're not enough, or you need more, or you have to be someone. Power, praise, perfection. Ra offers them all. You see it happen. A village elder approaches. He bows low, unsure of what he sees, but sensing something different. Are you a god? He asks. No, the Buddha says gently. A man? No. A spirit? No. Then what are you? And the Buddha smiles. I am awake. The elder frowns, confused. But you understand. Awakening isn't about becoming something more. It's about no longer pretending to be something else. Menra's illusions dissolve, not because the Buddha denies them, but because he sees them clearly, without judgment. That's what Ra can't stand, clarity. You feel your own illusions flicker. All the stories you've told yourself about what success must look like, what love should feel like, what peace must always be. You sit beside the Buddha. He says nothing. And that silence is a mirror. You start to see your own cravings, not just for things, but for identity. The desire to be seen a certain way, the hunger to be right, to be praised, to be in control. They rise like smoke, and like smoke they pass, because you don't feed them anymore. Mara tries once more. He whispers, "You'll never stay like this." But now you smile. You don't need to stay. You don't need to become enlightened. You just need to see, and seeing is enough. The Buddha stands. He looks at you, and for the first time, it's not just admiration you feel, it's kinship. You're not following a god. You're walking with someone who has remembered what he always was, and who reminds you of the same. You step forward. Immerse stays behind, not because he is gone forever, but because you no longer run from him. You see him for what he is, a teacher in disguise. You walk with the Buddha along a winding path that hugs the edge of a forest, the trees arching overhead in a canopy of dappled light. Each step is deliberate, grounded, not in hesitation, but in presence. He says nothing, and you find that you don't need him to. But inside you, something stirs, a question. You've seen what he left behind, what he endured, and what he realized. And still suffering remains in the world. People die. People forget. So why walk back into it? Why not stay beneath the Bodhi tree forever? He stops. It's not in response to your question, at least not directly, but it feels like an answer. Ahead is a clearing, a gathering of people, curious, hesitant, drawn to the calm in his step, the depth in his eyes. He doesn't preach, he simply sits, and they do too, you among them. Then, at last, he begins to speak. He tells a story, not of gods or heavens, not of punishment or reward. A story of reality. He speaks of suffering, of the ache that binds all living beings, of birth and death, of clinging and fear, and he names it clearly: dukkha, the first noble truth, not as punishment, not as failure, as fact. This is the Buddha's great courage, not avoiding suffering, but looking straight into it and saying, yes, this is here. You feel something soften. He continues. He speaks of the second truth, the cause of suffering, tanha, craving, the thirst to become, to avoid, to possess. You feel it in your own chest, that restless reaching, the subtle grip of if only I had this, if only I wasn't that. He names it not to condemn you, but to liberate you. Then he speaks of the third truth, cessation, that suffering can end. Not in some far-off heaven, here, now, through clarity, through release, and then the fourth truth, the way. He sketches it in the dirt with a stick, 8 simple lines, like spokes of a wheel. The eightfold path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. 8 ways to walk not away from life, but through it, with wisdom and compassion. You look at the others around you, farmers, beggars, a merchant, a widow clutching her son's hand. Their eyes are wide, not with awe, but recognition. They already know this truth. They've lived it. But now, someone has shown them a way through it. You close your eyes. You hear your own breath. The four noble truths don't change your problems. They change your relationship to them. Suffering is no longer something to avoid. It's something to understand. Craving is no longer a flaw. It's a signal. Release is no longer a fantasy. It's a choice. And the path is no longer hidden. It's been under your feet the entire time. The Buddha stops speaking. He sits again in silence. And it feels more complete now. Not as the absence of words, but as the fullness of understanding. You breathe, and something inside you turns gently, like the wheel he drew. Not fast, not loud, just begins. The wheel turns slowly in your mind as you walk, not spinning wildly with thoughts, but with a quiet gravity that pulls you inward. Each step now feels different, not because the path has changed, but because you are beginning to understand how to walk. The Buddha moves ahead, calm as ever. You remember the 8 lines he drew in the dirt, and now they rise in your awareness, not as commandments, but as invitations, the Eightfold Path. He doesn't explain them, he lives them, and now so do you. Right view. Not a belief, not a doctrine. It's the ability to see clearly, without distortion. You pass a tree with split bark. It's rotting on one side, flowering on the other. You used to see only the flowers or only the decay. Now, you see both, and neither are wrong. Right intention. You notice the thoughts behind your steps. Are you walking to impress, to escape, to become, or are you simply walking? The Buddha once said, "Whatever one frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of the mind." You see it now. Intention is the seed, and all action grows from it. You begin to walk with cleaner seeds, right speech. A traveler joins your path for a while. She asks where you're going. You begin to answer quickly, but then pause. You don't need to explain. You just say, "I'm learning how to walk." And it's true. Right speech isn't about silence. It's about truth. About words that don't harm, don't inflate, don't divide. You hear how often you used to speak just to fill space. Now, you let space speak too. Right action. A boy falls near the riverbank, scraping his knee. You help him up. Not because it's expected, because it's kind. You don't need a reason to be gentle. Right action isn't about rigid morality. It's about recognizing that your behavior is your teaching. Each act is a mirror of what you understand. Right livelihood. In a small village, you watch a merchant sell goods with honesty. He could charge more. He doesn't. You see now, it's not just what you do, but how you do it. Is your work aligned with harm or with harmony? Does it create more illusion or more clarity? You wonder how much of your life was spent in work that frayed your soul. And you wonder, what would it be like to live in a way that heals instead? Right effort. You try to meditate later, but the mind slips away. You want to push. Force yourself to focus. But then the Buddha's words return. Don't chase the mind. Don't fight it. Invite it. You sit, not in war with yourself, in friendship. Right effort is not harsh. It is steady. It is compassionate. It's not about how hard you work. It's about how wisely. Right mindfulness. You begin to notice the weight of your feet, the space between breaths, the taste of morning air. Not because someone told you to, but because awareness has become your default, not distraction. You see the ants crossing the path, the way sunlight slices through the trees, the sadness still in your chest. You don't label it, you don't resist it, you just know it, and in knowing it shifts. Right concentration, not narrowness, not tension, but the ability to remain with something, to stay, whether it's breath, pain, joy, emptiness. You feel your thoughts settle like sand in still water. You see beneath the surface, no need for trance, no need for escape, just clarity, just staying. The eightfold path, you realize, is not a staircase you climb. It's a circle, a wheel. You don't finish it, you live inside it. Sometimes you walk it gracefully, sometimes you stumble. But the point isn't perfection, it's direction. It's remembering the way back, over and over. The Buddha looks back at you and smiles. You don't need to say anything, you're already walking the path. The trail winds gently now, through fields of tall grass that ripple in the breeze like golden waves. There's a hush to the afternoon, a reverence in the way the wind moves, as though the world itself has paused to breathe. You follow the Buddha at a slight distance, his saffron robe flickering against the soft green of the trees ahead. But something gnaws at you now, a deeper question, not about the path, but about you. All this walking, all this listening, and still, the weight of I remains. You've changed, yes, but who is changing? Who is watching all this unfold? You feel the clench of ego softened, but not gone. And somehow, the Buddha senses this. He stops near a banyan tree, kneels beside a pool of still water, and gestures for you to sit. You do. He lifts a leaf from the surface, lets it float in his palm, then sets it adrift again. Who are you? He asks. Is it a riddle? A prompt? A trap? You begin to answer, I'm, but the word sticks. Who are you? The thoughts tumble, a name, a history, a body, a child, a student, a seeker. But none of it feels quite right. The Buddha says nothing, but his silence invites you deeper. He picks up a stick, draws a small circle in the mud, then another, 3 circles, overlapping, each one shifting slightly depending on where you sit. Which one is you? He asks. You hesitate. All of them? He nods. And none of them. He wipes them away with his hand. The lesson takes root. This is anatta, non-self. Not that you don't exist, but that the thing you think exists, the unchanging, solid me, is illusion. You are process, not breath, perception, reaction, memory, form, consciousness. You are always changing, always arising and dissolving, like the leaf, like the circles. You look at your hands, they've aged. Even since this journey began, your thoughts have shifted, your fears have softened. So where is the solid self? The Buddha stands. He doesn't give you an answer, because there isn't one, only this. When you stop clinging to a fixed identity, the world opens. You stop defending, you stop proving, you simply are. And that is freedom, not oblivion, not nothingness, but the release from needing to be someone. Just this moment, the sound of wind, the feel of earth, the gaze of a friend who asks nothing of you. As you walk again, the question no longer bites. You don't need to answer it. You need only live it. And with each step, a new self is born and dies and continues on. The wind picks up as you follow the Buddha along a riverside path. The trees bend and sway, whispering secrets to each other through their leaves. Dust lifts from the earth in tiny spirals. The light shifts, softer now, tinged with orange and gold. You sense that something is coming, not a storm, not a destination, but a truth that waits just ahead. The Buddha stops. You pause with him on a bluff that overlooks the water. Below, monks are gathering, their robes like scattered petals in the grass. A fire burns low nearby, but this isn't a gathering for warmth or food. It's for teaching. You find your place and sit. The Buddha doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. His presence draws the silence around him like a cloak, and the fire crackles, offering its rhythm like a second breath. He begins to speak. There is fire in everything, he says, and you feel it. His gaze sweeps over the faces before him. The eye is burning, the ear is burning, the nose, the tongue, the body, the mind, all are burning. You feel the unease ripple through the listeners, but he is calm. With what are they burning? You listen. They are burning with the fire of lust, with the fire of hatred, with the fire of delusion. And suddenly you see it. The fire isn't out there, not only in war or greed or anger. It's inside your cravings, inside your aversions, inside your illusions. You remember the last time you wanted something so badly it blinded you. You remember the heat of anger when someone crossed you. You remember how your mind told you stories, not always true ones, and how you believed them because they felt familiar. That is the burning. The Buddha speaks again. When you see this clearly, you turn away from the fire. You no longer grasp, you no longer cling, and in that release, freedom, you feel it flicker in you. Not the fire, but the possibility of its ending. A monk beside you begins to cry quietly, not from grief, from recognition. You understand. You've spent your life tending fires you didn't know you'd lit, trying to warm yourself with ego, trying to illuminate the future with imagined control. But none of it has ever brought peace. The Buddha leans forward slightly, and his voice lowers. To see the fire is not the end of the journey, but it is the beginning of awakening. He closes his eyes, and you do too. In the darkness behind your lids, you begin to notice your own heat, that little grasping in your chest, that wanting to hold on, to be safe, right known. But now, you don't resist it, you just watch. And slowly, like a campfire burned through the night, it dims, the breath deepens. The noise falls away, the fire cools. When you open your eyes, nothing has changed, and yet everything has. Because you no longer believe that every thought is true. You no longer run when desire knocks. You don't open the door for every spark. You don't pour oil on every flame. You just sit and let what burns burn out. The Buddha rises. No one claps, no one chants. They simply bow, not in worship, but in gratitude. You bow too. And as you walk again, you feel the coolness of the breeze against your skin. And this time, it's enough. Evening falls slowly as you leave the riverside, the path winding back through trees, heavy with dusk. The air is thick with the scent of jasmine and warm soil. Somewhere in the distance, a heron cries, long and low, before silence folds back in like a blanket over the forest. You walk alone now, though the Buddha is not far. You pass a small hut, so humble it nearly disappears into the shadows. A flickering oil lamp glows faintly from within. You pause. Something draws you closer. Inside, a monk lies curled on a straw mat, skin pale with fever, breath shallow. He's alone. A bowl of rice sits untouched beside him. Flies buzz lazily in the corners. You freeze in the doorway. You don't know what to do. You feel the instinct to help, but it collides with hesitation. Will you do it right? What if you offend him? What if you make it worse? Then you hear footsteps behind you, the Buddha. He steps past you without a word, kneels beside the sick monk, and begins to clean the space around him. He lifts the bowl, brings it gently to the man's lips, wipes his face with water, adjusts the mat under his spine. Every motion is simple, unhurried, offered with full attention. You watch, you learn, not from his words, from his hands, from the way he does not recoil, from the way he does not hesitate. When he finishes, he looks at you, and then he speaks. Monks, he says softly, though only you are present, who care for the sick care for me. You kneel too. Together, you stay with the monk until he sleeps more easily, breath deepening, fever softening. Later, as you step back outside, the Buddha lingers at the doorway and looks out at the stars. They think practice means silence, he says, but it means this. And now you understand. This is the next lesson. Compassion is not an emotion, it's an action. It is what you do when the heart breaks open and reaches outward, not with pity, with presence. You think back to the Eightfold Path, right action, right intention, right livelihood. Here, they are not ideas. They are a bowl of water, a rearranged mat, a meal shared in silence. He turns to you. There will always be suffering, he says. But there can also always be kindness. You bow your head, not because you're supposed to, but because something inside you softens into humility. You remember all the times you looked away when others were in pain, not because you didn't care, but because you didn't know how to be with it. You do now, not perfectly, but honestly. That night, you sleep outside under the stars, beside the hut. The sky stretches above you like a great, quiet mind, clear and vast. You feel no rush to wake, no urge to move on. This, too, is practice. To stay, to serve. And you understand, deeply now, to care for others is to remember who you are. Not a self, not a seeker, but a participant in this shared, fleeting breath we call life. You wake before the birds. The world is still wrapped in grey mist, the forest floor damp with dew. The monk in the hut sleeps peacefully now. His breath is steady, his body quiet. You rise slowly, careful not to stir the silence, and begin walking again. But something has changed. Not in the path, not in the trees, not in the Buddha's teaching, in you. There's a gentleness to your pace now, like you're no longer walking towards something, but with everything. Each step feels like a conversation with the earth. And for the first time, you don't need answers. You need only presence. Ahead, smoke curls from a small pyre, a gathering. You approach quietly and see villagers standing in a circle, eyes lowered, hands clasped. A child's body lies, wrapped in white cloth atop a wooden frame. Flowers cover her from feet to chest, but not her face. Her mother kneels beside the pyre, still as a statue, her hands resting in her lap. She doesn't cry. She doesn't blink. She just is. The Buddha stands nearby, watching with the same calm he brings to everything. But his eyes, they carry something deeper. Not detachment, understanding. You sit with the others, the silence thick with breath and memory. Then the mother speaks. Her voice is soft, but not fragile. She was mine, she says, and now she isn't. No one moves. The Buddha steps forward and kneels beside her. Has she ever? He asks gently. The question lands not like a challenge, but like a hand on the shoulder. The mother closes her eyes. I bore her, she says. I raised her. I watched her sleep. And now? The Buddha asks. She hesitates. Now I still feel her. The Buddha nods. And that is true. But what is yours in that feeling? She doesn't answer. No one could. This is the lesson of impermanence. Anicca, everything that arises also passes, not as punishment, but as nature, the breath, the seasons, joy, sorrow, life, death. You remember the first truth dukkha, suffering. You now see how it binds so closely to the illusion of permanence. We suffer because we hold too tightly to what must change. The Buddha places a flower on the child's chest. She came through you, he says, and she has returned to what she always was, movement, energy, impermanence. The pyre is lit. The flames rise slowly at first, then greedily. The scent of sandalwood and smoke fills the air. The villagers bow their heads. You don't look away. You let yourself see. The mother does too. Her face doesn't collapse into tears. Instead, it softens. And in that softening, something strange and beautiful happens. She bows. To the flames, to the Buddha, to no one. To everything later, as the fire dies down, the Buddha walks with you to the river. Everything rises, he says, and everything falls. You listen to the water. It doesn't argue. It doesn't grieve. It flows. That child was not a possession, he continues. She was a passing form, like you, like me. And then, more quiet. To see this clearly is not to lose love, but to deepen it. You walk with this thought long into the afternoon. You no longer fear impermanence. You begin to trust it, not because it makes things easier, but because it makes them real. Every breath now is a gift, every touch a miracle, every goodbye sacred, because you know it all changes, and that is why it matters. The smoke from the pyre fades behind you, absorbed by the sky, carried away by the wind. You walk in silence, your feet brushing soft grass, your hands relaxed at your sides. Something has loosened within you, not vanished, but softened. The grip of grief, the fear of loss, the resistance to change. All of it now lies just a little more lightly in your chest. By mid-morning, you enter a clearing near a quiet village. Huts made of mud and straw line the path. The scent of boiled rice drifts on the air. A rooster crows once, then silence. Then, a cry, thin, broken. You turn toward the sound and find a hut with its door ajar. Inside, a young monk sits hunched over, his face buried in his robe. His breath comes in sharp hiccups. His back trembles. You step closer, but say nothing. The Buddha is already there, kneeling beside him. The monk is sick, not with fever, not with injury, but with neglect. His robes are soiled, his mat unwashed, his bowl untouched. The other monks, it turns out, have left him to lie alone, believing that his illness makes him unclean, impure. That to tend to him would disturb their practice. You feel the heat rise in your chest, anger, perhaps, or shame. But the Buddha says nothing harsh. He simply begins to clean. He brings water, washes the young monk's feet, gathers fresh robes, gently rearranges the room. You help. Together, you scrub the floor, replace the mat, feed the monk with warm rice and lentils, spoonful by careful spoonful. He weeps again, not from pain, but from being seen. Later, as the sun reaches its highest point, the Buddha calls the other monks to the clearing. They arrive slowly, eyes averted, uncertain. The Buddha speaks softly, but with unmistakable weight. If you do not care for one another, who will care for you? If you do not tend to the sick, how can you claim to walk this path? They bow their heads, and the Buddha gives this teaching. He who would serve me must serve the sick. The lesson is clear. Practice is not escape, It is not perfection. It is not quietness behind temple walls. Practice is service, not out of obligation, out of compassion, real, embodied, immediate. You begin to see your own past with new eyes. Those moments when you rushed to meditate while a friend needed help. When you quoted wisdom instead of listening. When you held your spiritual path above the mess of human suffering, mistaking detachment for enlightenment. Now you understand. Zen without compassion is just furniture in an empty house. Mindfulness without care is just observation without heart. The Buddha says nothing more. He turns and walks to the river. You follow. The water shines like glass beneath the sun. He kneels and dips his hands into the stream, letting the water run freely through his fingers. This is the Dharma, he says. It does not cling. It nourishes all, touches all, and leaves no one behind. You kneel too. Let the water wash over your palms. You don't need to hold it. You only need to offer it. As the monks begin to tend to the sick brother, gently now, humbly, you feel a shift, not just in them, in you. For the first time, you don't feel like a student watching a teacher. You feel like someone living the lesson. And in that, the separation vanishes. There is no enlightened and unenlightened, no wise and unwise, only those who choose to love. And those who have forgotten how. The days grow shorter now. The light lingers lower in the sky, stretched thin and golden like a final whisper of summer. You walk with the Buddha along quiet paths, past villages where rice is harvested, past forests preparing to shed their leaves. There is a stillness in him deeper than before, not the silence of withholding, but of arrival. As if each breath is complete, you sense it too, that the end is near, not in a fearful way, more like the way dusk gently follows a long, honest day. In a small village near Kushinaga, a blacksmith named Kunda offers the Buddha his final meal. The offering is sincere: rice, water, and a dish of soft mushrooms or pork. Stories vary. The Buddha eats calmly, blesses the meal, and thanks his host with full sincerity. He knows what is coming. His body, aged and worn, has begun to falter. The food does not sit well. Pain grips his belly like fire. The monks panic. You feel your own chest tighten. What if this is it? What if it ends not in ceremony, but in illness? But the Buddha remains composed. He sits by a grove of sal trees, lying on his right side in the lion's posture, one hand beneath his head, one along his thigh. The trees, in bloom though it is not their season, drop white blossoms around him like snow. You kneel nearby. The monks gather, and still he teaches. You may think, he says softly, that after I am gone, the Dharma ends. But this is not so. His eyes rest gently on each of you. You have the teachings. Let them be your guide. Be a lamp unto yourselves. You feel tears rise. Not because he's gone, but because he's still giving. Even now, especially now. A monk asks, voice trembling, "What should we do when you are no longer here?" And the Buddha answers, not with theory, but with the essence of everything he has ever taught. Practice diligently, with awareness, with compassion. This is the path. You remember the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, the fire sermon, the sick monk, the child's funeral, the rice bowl, the silence under the Bodhi tree. It all lives in this final breath. No more is needed, and then slowly his voice fades. His breathing softens. The Buddha's final words: all compounded things are subject to decay. Strive on with diligence, and then stillness. Complete, peaceful, true, no fanfare, no miracle, just the ending of what began, the same way a wave returns to the sea. You do not cry right away. You simply sit and watch the petals fall. You remember his teachings, not as lines in a book, but as threads in your own life. And for the first time, you understand that his death is not a loss. It is a continuation. The teachings were never about clinging to him. They were about seeing what he saw. And now you begin to see it too. The path does not end at his passing. It begins anew in every step you take from here, in how you walk, how you speak, how you serve, in how you are you bow low, and when you rise, the world is exactly as it was, and nothing is the same. The morning after the Buddha's passing is impossibly quiet, not the silence of grief exactly. It's the kind of stillness that follows something sacred, when even the birds seem to pause, when the trees lean in slightly, as if listening to what has not been said. You walk through the grove where he lay beneath the sal trees, now carpeted with white petals. The monks have begun to stir, tending the fire that will cremate his body, preparing incense, offering chants that carry no sorrow, only gratitude. You don't join the ritual. Instead, you walk, not away from him, but deeper into his path. The dirt beneath your feet feels different now. Not lighter, not heavier, just real. Each step lands with clarity. You are not looking for him anymore, because he didn't leave behind a place to visit. He left behind a way to live. You cross a small stream, the kind he used to bathe in. Sit on a flat stone near the bank. Watch your reflection ripple. You remember how you once feared impermanence. Now you see. The ripples are not a distortion. They are the nature of water. A child approaches barefoot, curious. She sits beside you, silent at first. Then she asks, "Is it true?" The teacher is gone. You hesitate. Then shake your head. "No," you say. "Just doesn't walk the way he used to." She frowns. "Will he come back?" You smile softly. Every time someone chooses kindness instead of cruelty, patience instead of anger, truth instead of illusion, he comes back. She thinks for a moment. "I can do that." You nod. "We all can." She runs off, chasing a crow into the trees. You stay. Not because you need more time to understand, but because stillness has become your friend. You think of all the places you followed him, the palace you left behind, the forest of extremes, the base of the Bodhi tree, the burning ground of loss, the hut of service, the path of balance, the graveyard of illusion, and finally this, not the end, the continuation. You feel your breath, unforced, uncontrolled. You let it rise. You let it fall. And you realize the final lesson was never about him. It was always about you. About how you carry this, how you walk now, how you live, and how you remember, not with a shrine, not with a statue, but with the quality of your presence. You rise, the forest accepts you, the earth bears your weight, and you walk, step by quiet step, not behind the Buddha anymore, but alongside his teaching, alive in your breath, alive in your hands, alive in the dust your feet now gently stir. Now you rest. You have walked far, not only across paths and villages, but through suffering and clarity, through illusion and truth. You began as a seeker trailing behind a prince. You end as one who walks the path not out of hope, but from deep understanding. You have seen the palace of comfort and the forest of extremes. You have sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not just as a witness, but as a reflection of your own stillness. You have faced Mumra, not only in the form of temptation, but in your own thoughts, your own doubt, your own craving to become something, and still you stayed. You learned that the path is not a place. It is not carved in stone. It is lived in speech, in intention, in silence, in service. In every moment you choose awareness over reaction, compassion over fear, presence over performance. The Buddha did not leave behind commandments. He left footprints, not to be worshipped, but to be followed. He did not teach you what to believe. He showed you how to see. And now, here you are, sitting with the truth, not clinging, not running, just breathing. The fire has cooled, the petals have fallen, the sky stretches overhead, vast and quiet, like the mind of one who no longer argues with what is. Let the breath be enough now. Let the world drift on without your grasp. Let the lamp of the Dharma light quietly within your chest. There is no more to seek, only to live, only to return, only to begin again.